Miki, hi. Welcome to the Female Startup Club podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm super excited to be talking to you today. And I want to just start by sharing a quick story for everyone listening to talk about the power of good things take time. I already shared this with you, but for everyone listening, in 2019, Female Startup Club was just a concept. It was just getting started. It was I think it was in October. And I had a list of 10 women who were on my these are the people I'm going to interview on Female Startup Club. And you were one of them. I just finished reading your book. I was living in Bali earlier that year. I'd read it by the pool. And I basically was like, Miki is going to be on the show. And now, a few years later, here we are. I'm so pumped.
Oh my God, what a beautiful thank you. I'm so happy. Yeah, I've loved that you've done 400 podcasts. You're a beast.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
Met a lot of cool people. That's so fun.
It's been just the joy of my life. I've had such a great time. But let's not talk about me. I want to talk about you. You are a serial entrepreneur. You've built multiple businesses. You've built two $200 million. Where do you like to start your journey, and what was driving you towards entrepreneurship and social impact?
Yeah, I think the first thing is just being, born from immigrant parents. My father came to America from India with $5 in his pocket, and I've told the story a few times. But my mom came, to America from Japan, barely speaking any English. And I grew up in French Montreal and French Canada. And so I think I just grew up with a lot of multicultural influences and just, had the opportunity to see multiple perspectives really early on. And I think that really lent itself to looking at things differently and questioning things and being given permission to question everything around me. And I think that permission to question beg the question of, wait, can this be done better? Can this be made better? Can I invent something in a different way? Do I have the agency, power, and ability to do something, even if I have no money, no experience in something? The answer is yes. I think just the mélange of exposure that I received early on and receiving multiple perspectives about certain specific subjects just lent itself to being given the permission to question a lot.
I love that. That's such a cool upbringing. And I know you're in nature at the moment and you're kind of having this beautiful lifestyle that sounds so cool. And I'm sure that plays a big part in your kind of journey in business as well. You've started Wild, I think it was 16 years ago, I read.
18
years ago, my God. You've started Thinx, which is an amazing period underwear company. And today we're going to be diving more into the journey of Tushy. And I'd love to kind of go back to that very beginning when you had this light bulb moment and how does Tushy enter the group chat? How does it enter the room? How does it enter the conversation? How does it start?
Well, the first thing is I'm again, half Japanese, half Indian, and bidets are ubiquitous in pretty much most Asian countries, specifically in Japan. I think it's got 80 to 90% penetration in pretty much every household in Japan, including McDonald's and restaurants and fast food chains. And so bidets have been something that I've known about for a really long time. The one thing I've learned about it is that wow, it's so expensive. It's thousands of dollars, requires plumbing, electrical. It's just super, super expensive. And most people this day and age, millennials and Gen Zers, are actually renting, so they're not going to spend all this money, time, energy installing a bidet on their toilet or replacing their toilet or, putting a fixture. And of course, those French bidets, I grew up in French Montreal, so some of the homes had bidets, but they were those weird, contraptions next to your toilet. We have to shimmy over. It's like a shimmy over with your poopy butt.
Yeah.
Clean it. It just sounds so busy. You have to shimmy back to what it just, the whole thing is just what the heck is this?
I've never been able to use one because I haven't understood what's the process here. So when I see them in Europe, I'm but how?
Right, exactly. It's just a kind of a very light spritz. It's just the whole thing is gross and weird. And then in India, they have these things called a lota, which is basically a bucket of water that you just kind of splash onto your butt. And so I just grew up knowing about bidets, but never thinking that it's something that I can have in my own life. But then so cut to 2014, I had kind of developed a pretty intense hyperthyroid condition. I was, building my restaurant, starting Thinx. And there was just a lot of energy being put out. And my body was on overdrive. And so I kind of developed a pretty intense hyperthyroid condition, which one of the side effects beyond heart palpitations and pretty scary stuff was pooping a lot. That was one of the side effects. And pooping like up to 8 times a day. Like I'm talking like big poops. Like I don't even know where it's coming from because I'm this tiny person. And yet it was just like, I got down to like 100 pounds. It was like really scary. And so as part of the side effect of pooping a lot during that period of time, luckily I'm totally fine now. I'm 100% back to normal. Like no, like, Dr. Mark Hyman is one of my best friends and he helped nurse me back to health and really took control of my diet, energy, all the things. And so, but during that period, like one of the side effects of pooping a lot was like wiping a lot. And I was like wiping and wiping and wiping. And it just like made my butt raw and painful. I had to eventually start jumping in the shower to wash myself after I went to the bathroom because it was just dry paper. And then finally, my husband got me this pretty crappy bidet thing that he found on like an Asian site and, installed it on my toilet. And I was just like, holy cow, like this changed my life. It changed my experience. And then I started thinking about everyone who had IBS, everyone had GI issues, everyone who had any thyroid issues, 1 in 7 women, like everyone who has any kind of chronic UTIs, hemorrhoids, fissures, itching, like all this stuff down there that wiping is an exacerbation of. Like imagine, the analogy I give is imagine if you took dry toilet paper, like you jumped in your shower and just took dry toilet paper and like wiped down your dirtiest bits with no water. People would be like, you're not clean. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you, like this doesn't make any sense. So like, why are we doing that to the dirtiest part of our body? Like our butts, like doesn't make any sense at all. So it's such a bulb moment for me where it was just like, I am going to bring bidets to America and make them affordable, under $100 product. You can easily clip them onto your toilet in less than 10 minutes. It doesn't pull water from your toilet bowl or your tank. It pulls from the wall, the same water you brush your teeth with. It comes with a little hose and a splitter. Everything's included in the box. And it's like going to change your life. And at the same time, you're going to help save 15 million trees from getting flushed down the toilet. You're going to help, social entrepreneurship is super important to me. We incorporated a give back model with Samagra, which funds the build out of clean toilets in India. And so we're going to now fund, with every purchase, we're going to fund the build out of clean toilets in India. So the global sanitation crisis isn't, it's affecting 3 billion people on the planet is going to, be supported by us in some small way. And so it just sort of that was a spark. And then, all this journey, which we'll talk about in a bit, followed that.
Okay, so there's the spark. You've gone through this experience. Now it's time to like actually practically bring it into the world. What are those early steps? What are you doing? Are you going straight out to raise? Are you bootstrapping? Are you, talking to people? What's the kind of early framework in getting this product ready in the lead up to a launch?
Great question. For me, it was starting by just asking people, like, what do you think about bidet? Like, would you install it? Oh, way too expensive. Way too expensive. I'm like, oh no, but what if it's under $100? Under $100 bidet? I've never seen that before. And so then it's just like, but if you did find one, would you install it? They're like, well, I would be interested if it makes me cleaner. It's like a precise shower for my butt. Like, why not? There was just like a lot of questions first asked around to my friends, family, community. And then from there, like started reaching out to like different like bidet manufacturers just to see like what it would take to just make a small run, and I would just design it. I would work with a designer to kind of design the first box and the first iteration of it, and then just kind of do a tiny run and then just see like if there's some interest in that way.
What's a tiny run for you in that setting?
Like 100 units or something like that, like a couple 100 to 5. Yeah, small, like 100 to 500, like first 100, then maybe 500, but really small. And then, like start talking to potential funders just to say like, hey, like, would you help kind of build this thing with me? You'd come in at a very low valuation. And I got very, very lucky for Tushy specifically because for Thinx, I raised $0 in 6 months and had to do a Kickstarter campaign. And it was a huge struggle to get people to even think about period underwear as a product in the world. Like bleed in your underwear sounds disgusting. And so it was a very weird product. And same thing with Tushy. Like people like poopy water will spread everywhere. We're like, no, it's precise shower. It pulls it into the bowl. It's very clean. Oh, is it pulling from the water from the bowl or the tank? No, it's pulling from the wall. Like people had all these like assumptions around what a bidet does and is. Meanwhile, it's like you're showering every time we go to the bathroom, which is the cleanest thing you could possibly do for yourself.
Yeah, there's a huge education piece there for people who have never used one.
100%. So like, I feel like what I learned from the experience of Thinx, and then previously to that, building Wild, my restaurants, which was like gluten-free farm to table pizza, which was completely new and innovative in its time. In 2005, no one was talking about gluten-free, organic farm to table, let alone in the world of pizza. And so it was a huge educational uphill battle to get people to even think about healthy pizza in a way that wasn't like, ew, it probably tastes like cardboard, like gross, I would never eat that. Like all the different stigmas associated with that as well. So I learned a lot about how to change culture, both in the restaurant industry and with Thinx. So then when I started Tushy, it was like, okay, like how do we use iconic education? How do we use, I created kind of a 3-pronged thesis around changing culture. The first is, a best-in-class product. The second is, accessible, relatable language across every touch point of the brand. So like funny copy. And then the third is beautiful, artful design, really gorgeous design. And like through that, you can educate people in an iconic way. And from that, people will be like more interested in leaning forward, leaning in to be like, oh, you're talking to me like my best friend. Oh, your designs are gorgeous. Like, what is this? Oh, you're talking about periods. Or you're talking about poop. Like, but I already leaned in. So I'm not scared. So now I'm open to actually learning more. And so, I kind of learned early on how to talk to people and meet them where they are. And then kind of like, and kind of like seduce them into the world of, like this new taboo world, but in a way that's really, really beautiful and artful and safe.
Yeah, easy and exciting and fun and kind of engaging. Wow. So in that early process, to creating the prototypes, the 100 to 500 pieces and this beautiful iconic website and product design and language and copywriting and things like that, what kind of capital did you need or did you think that you would need to get yourself to like a launch with like a full MO, like whatever the MOQs are, etc.?
Right. So I kind of lost my train of thought earlier, but it just goes everywhere. So my first meeting, I just got very lucky. Like I said, building Tushy, building my restaurants and Thinx was an extremely uphill battle to raise money. But for Tushy specifically, I got very lucky in my first meeting with an investor, and it gave a low enough valuation that he invested a pretty sizable check. He put $400,000 into the business right from the first meeting. And I've never experienced that before. And I was very lucky. And ever since then, I barely raised any money because it got really hard. But that was just a very lucky call, which was a sign from the universe for me that was just like, okay, go do this. Even if you're still building Thinx, like, you can go and set up the business for Tushy and put people in place. And then let that slowly start building in the background while you're still building Thinx. So that's what I did.
Got it. Right. So you're across 2 at the same time. Holy moly. That's a lot. Crazy. I want to talk about like for you, especially that first year of business in Tushy and how you were kind of approaching your marketing and your creative, like out of the box thinking. I know that this is something you do really well. And I've seen a few different campaigns that you've kind of rolled out. And I was watching this video of you talking on YouTube about this kind of idea of winning with weirdness. And I just thought that summed it up so perfectly. Could we talk about a few of your kind of initial campaigns to get the word out there and how you were approaching marketing in that first year of business?
I would say for Tushy specifically, it started off with like just deep education, but like education through comedy. And so we kind of like put out this like really, I put a brown paper bag on my face and shot this commercial in my bathroom with my 2 first employees. And we just sort of like the brown paper bag, we put like a little smiley face on the brown paper bag. And it just said like, imagine if a bird shit on your face, and then we have like white paint just flew into my face in the paper bag. And it's like, would you take a piece of paper and wipe the poop off your face? And we had sounds going like, ooh, or would you wash it with water? And so then I kind of like really like totally terrible, just like kind of leaned off camera, took the paper bag off and replaced it with another paper bag. And it was like clean, and it was just like so lo-fi, but it was just a really funny, just super low budget. Like I shot it in our house. And that was the first moment of people being like, oh yeah, like why, if a bird pooped on my arm, a bird pooped on my head, like I wouldn't take dry paper and just smear it off and and call it clean. Like that doesn't make any sense. I would wash it off with water. Like that makes so much sense. And I think like just that light bulb moment that went off for people then as well was really important. And we were like, okay, like we could just come up with a bunch of creative, funny, weird content and put it out and just see if people will react, and just kept doing like that kind of, we sent like our first event was held at my other house, my next apartment, and we invited all the press, and we just said it was going to be like, it's the year of the asshole, we called it. I think at this point it was like 2017. 2017 was like the year of the asshole. We coined it the Yoda, the year of the asshole. So we had this big event at my house where we had like a butt painter painting a live nude butt. We invited everyone, New York Times, New York Post, like The Economist, like literally and everyone said yes, because they were like, what is the year of the asshole? And it was just this like bizarre. And then the invitation that we sent was like DIY anal beads, which was like kind of weird. And so it was just like all bizarre, normalizing anything butt related, like butt play, like butt talk, like butt conversation, like who cares? It's like, why is that taboo? Like, and then of course, gut health. So we had a bunch of different parts of the experience. We walked into my apartment and there's like different little stations of things. You got a butt massage. We had a massage therapist there to get a butt massage. And all the press showed up and they were just like, what is the year of the asshole? It's just so strange.
Did they know about Tushy yet? Or Tushy, it hadn't even been kind of like launched at this point?
It was still like launching. Like, people were still like, what's Tushy? No one knew what it was. We like it was still very, very, very early. Like people were like, what is Tushy? And so, but we came up with an event around that got attention, like the year of the asshole. Like, what does that mean? But then it was like, put on by Tushy that helps you keep it clean, And it was just this like weird, anything that gets people to thumb stop, right? Or it's like you're reading your emails and you're like, subject heading, it's the year of the asshole. Like, what on earth? And so you want to click on that, and then you just, it's all about, like how do you like create mystery to bring people into your world? And I think most people are just like, come to my event, and they send you a press release, and you're just like, no one cares about you, your company, like, oh, just an appliance for your toilet, like. No, like the whole thing is about intrigue, mystery, enrollment, seduction, like in a way that, and not seduction in a sex way, but seduction and just like getting you curious, like, oh, like this is, I'm interested, I'm leaning in, like I want to go to that thing because like you just piqued my interest. Like it's mystery, it's a mystery, it's like the mystery. My mother always said, she's Japanese, it comes from samurai lineage, and she says the best way to maintain a long-term relationship with your partner is always maintain a little mystery. Always maintain a little mystery. Yeah. And I believe that's true in business. I believe that's true in building relationships. So the idea that we just want to maintain, like get people to come and learn about something new and get educated about a completely new behavior requires more than just like try bidet. People are like, that's why Toto never worked. That's why all these companies that came to America haven't really fully popularized in this country, because it's too like, get this thing, this contraption, something that's wrong with you, versus, oh, a year of the asshole. Like, how do I keep it clean? Like, oh, just like a different way of thinking about like the problem, and like, oh, the solution is affordable. It saves me money long term. I'm saving thousands of dollars of toilet paper costs that I would have purchased every month over time by just buying a $99 bidet one time. Like that's it saves money, saves my health, it saves the planet. We've helped save 15 million trees from getting flushed down the toilet from toilet paper. There's just like all the different value props where you're like, oh yeah, this makes so much sense. But how do you get people to first pique their interest? It's not by saying save trees or like whatever. Like most people care about themselves. So first is like pique my interest me, make me curious. So like first let me pique your interest in something by creating a mysterious experience. Then let me share with you the value propositions and how it would support you first. Save your health. Like don't be gross. Like if you want to go on a date, don't you want to be clean and sexy down there? Like don't you want to be like when you're on your period, don't you want to be nice and clean down there? When you have chronic issues, don't you want to be clean down there? Like let me give you the value props. And step one is always, how do I enroll you into my world? And most people really miss that part. They want to just sell you the product, but they miss the the introduction and that sort of that transition period.
And what was the impact of that like event? Like, I feel like for you, PR has been, you know, a big amplification tool for you and spreading that message.
Every single press came to the event. Like all the press showed up because they were like, what is that? New York Times came, like everyone went. And whether or not it was good pieces, bad pieces, whatever, people were like, what's the year of the asshole? I got these weird DIY anal beads in the mail, like gross. It was just sort of cool, paid attention, and guess what? They came. They wanted to see what happened, right? I think everything has to also be sincere and authentic, right? Like if everything is too perfect and crisp, like my very first video of my brown paper bag and splashing, it was like, oh my God, this is so homemade. It's like even now, like TikTok videos are all UGC videos, user generated content. That's so much more actually real and actually converts better than like a perfectly manicured commercial that feels just now phony almost, you know? And so I think we've always been very DIY, having events at my apartment, hosting things at home, like doing things like very DIY, like that felt very, very personal. And even if it's like not perfect, that's actually like the point. Like we are literally made to be imperfect. Like we are built for imperfection. And that's the beauty about being human. And so let's just not hide that and let's be authentic in our truth. Like why is our butt, our nether regions considered something to be taboo? Like that's the part that creates life. That's the part that makes babies. That's the part that excretes the parts of the things in our body that we don't need. That's the part that feels so much pleasure. Like, why are we making that taboo? The patriarchy, like people who said 100 years ago, that's bad to talk about. Like, why? Like, it's time to shift. That's time to question that. And I've gotten a lot of shit for like questioning things in my life, but I'm authentically myself. I'm in high integrity, and I'm going to continue to speak about the things that I believe don't make sense anymore. Like why is this stuff taboo? Like who gives a shit? Like, so I think because of that, press are always like, oh, what is this about? And I think, cut to, we did an event called ButtCon as well, all things butt related, that also got, billions of impressions, and it was everything butt related. We found like Kim Kardashian's butt workout person that came and taught us a butt workout. We found the twerking champion of the world who came and taught people how to twerk. We found the cake sitter who like, dances on top of a cake and then sits on the cake with their butt and does like a butt dance on a cake. And we're like, okay. Dr. Mark Hyman came and did a whole thing on, on gut health and how that relates to like poop and how important all of gut and butt health are related. We had like people have butt acne. Apparently that's a real thing. And so like we had this woman, esthetician, that came in and did a whole butt acne thing, and like we had an anal porn star come in, talk about what it's like to be an anal porn star, which is usually you're like, I don't want to know, but you're kind of like, I kind of want to know, like,
I don't want to know, but I kind of actually do want to know.
because everyone does want to know. Like, and so like, how do you keep clean? Like, what do you do? Like, if it's a random person, like just all the questions, right? Like we just create a spectacle and have people show up, and it's introduced. It's like brought to you by Tushy Bidet. And then people are just like, oh my God, Tushy just does these weird things. We tried to once again get on the subways, and the subway said, no, you can't put Tushy on the subway because it's a sex product. And we're like, no, it's a bidet. It's like toilet paper. Like, what are you talking about? So they didn't put us on the subways. And so we then put out we basically went to press and said, like, they're not letting us put these ads on the subway, kind of like we did with Thinx, which worked. And it worked again with Tushy. And magically, miraculously, the universe gave us this beautiful gift where Saturday Night Live, SNL, like the biggest comedy show ever, we didn't know, but they read the dailies when our ads didn't get put on the subways. New York Daily News ran a story like MTA flushes down this company's ads down the toilet, and it was talking about Tushy's ads not being allowed to be on the subways. So then we come to find out, cut to, all of a sudden we find out that SNL is about to do a 3-minute rant about Tushy and bidets. And so we found out that Saturday Night Live goes through all the New York dailies, like New York Post, New York Magazine, New York Times, like, New York Daily News, to find like the most random things to talk about because they do a news segment. And Michael Che, the lead writer of SNL, loves bidets, loves Tushy, and basically was like, wait, these ads were not allowed in the MTA. He then does an entire weekend update on SNL, a 3-minute rant about why Tushy should be allowed in the subways and why bidets have changed his life and how much he loves them. And it literally like overnight, we were like the multiples of our business. Like we tripled our business. Like it was an incredibly important moment in our business to learn that the more spectacles we create, the more we're top of mind, the more people will learn about us and ultimately come to our shop and buy our product because they learned that's also best for you, best for the planet, best for your body, best for the planet, all the things, you know? So it kind of, we just needed to like get as many people to learn about us. And the best way to do that is through mystery and like intrigue and weirdness and like butt cons and like you're the assholes.
Creating buzz that way. I love it. I love the video.
I went to my costume designer for Burning Man and I was like, can you make me a weird butt costume where the face is in the hole? You know? And so we made this costume and we made this whole, or you know, one of our writers at Tushy wrote this hilarious script about like this asshole character who gets really mad. She becomes an asshole when she's not clean. And so whenever she's clean by Tushy, she's much nicer. But when she's not clean, she's an asshole, you know, and it's just funny. And so that video got like 25 million views and it's been like returning. People are buying still from that video, you know.
I love that. That's amazing. And I love the video you just did of the fountain. So funny. So great with the composed music. I want to ask you, like, what's your advice for people who are listening in right now who have a product, they've built a CPG brand. It might not be taboo or controversial or like, you know, they don't have that kind of hook factor that you do have with this product. What's your advice for those kind of brands who maybe they're in the beauty industry or they're in the beverage industry or something like that? How do they go about creating these moments of weirdness and kind of creating that hook and intrigue and campaigns that are out of the box?
You can say that about anything, right? You can say like, oh, a bidet is like a toilet appliance. Like there's nothing sexy or intriguing or taboo about it. We made it intriguing and taboo. Like Thinx was like period underwear that you bleed into like a tampon or a pad. Like why is that like taboo? Like, I mean, it is, I mean, of course they're taboo, but like technically they're like feminine care products, right? We just made the taboo of it cool. We made the taboo of pooping. We pulled it out because it truly is a taboo. People don't want to talk about their periods. People don't talk about poop. And so it is, but we use that in a way that supported kind of the clickbaitness of it and it supported the intrigue of it. People of beauty products or like underwear companies are like, oh, we're going to bring in plus size models and make it not just skinny wafy models, or we're going to make bras in every shade of color and make it for everyone. And it's just like, yeah, it's a bra company, but they made it interesting by making it interesting because they came up with a creative angle to make it interesting. So you can literally take anything and make intrigue out of it based on what you attach it to, the association you decide to bring it to. Feed bags. Like this girl started this feed bag, right? Like, what's her name? Lauren. You know, like this girl who married Ralph Lauren's son, right? Her name is Lauren. I forget her last name. Lauren Bush. So Lauren Bush started this company called Feed Bags, and it's just sort of like a tote, you know? But she made it like every tote that I sell will feed one kid in need or something like that. And so all of a sudden, same thing with Tom's shoes. Like it's another shoe out of a billion shoe companies, but he made it for every shoe you buy, we'll give a shoe to somebody in need. All of a sudden, it's like interesting, different, story worthy, unique, separate, right? How do you stand out? And it comes with creativity. And people are like, well, I'm not creative and what? Everyone's creative. We're all creative. We just don't necessarily spend the time walking in nature and just taking the noise out of our brains and just giving ourselves the space to think and to magically create and to just be like, oh, like, let me look at this leaf and, oh, this leaf just made me think about this. Like, or and that made me think about that. And, oh, I just came up with my campaign. It's just people are so busy reacting to the world around them that they don't give themselves the space to be creative. And creativity requires spaciousness, requires time, requires presence, requires slowing it down, requires emptying the brain full of the to-do list. Everyone's a creative. And I think it's so, so, so important for everyone to give ourselves the time and space to be spacious and to be creative. And I think that's the key to all of it, because we all have these ideas. We just don't give ourselves a space to let them download into us.
That's the magic. Everyone's weekend to-do list: get outside, go for a long walk, take a hike. Start putting that on your weekly to-do list. Get into nature. Look at the leaves. I love that.
I would say, like, one beautiful thing, besides reading Disrupt Her, is to read The Artist's Way. I think The Artist, or Do Cool Shit as well, but like The Artist's Way, I would say, is such an important book to read because it helped me, or it helps me. I've been journaling for a really long time, but it reminded me the importance of journaling, especially morning pages, like specifically, which is like you wake up and you just throw up on the page. Whatever is in your head, or you just like blah, 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 you like throw up on the page. What actually happens is when you're getting all the this, that, the to-do list, and oh my God, think about that, or this, or that happened, and what this person said, or what that person did, or oh my God, whatever, just the junk that you read or saw in the news, or the whatever. Once you just get it all out, you're left with this spaciousness. And when you get all of that, then you can actually spend the time like actually in your own space, and to be like, what do I want to feel right now? And like in this moment, like, how do I want to set up my day once all this junk is out? And I think like doing just 3 pages of morning pages every day, just to get the blah, blah, blah out to that. And then you're left with like, okay, what's true? Like, what's the most impactful thing for me that I can do today that supports me, that supports what my deepest needs are. And by supporting me, I can support those I love, much more effectively. By supporting those I love much more effectively, there's more love in my home.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So powerful. So cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we have 6 quick questions left to do. We are going to speed through them at a crazy pace. Some of them we might have covered, some of them we might not have, but I'm going to breeze through them all the same. Question number 1, what's your why? Why are you doing this every single day?
To elevate people, planet, and leave the world better for our kids.
Absolutely. Question number 2, what's been your favorite marketing moment across any of your businesses so far?
I would say probably for Tushy was the Saturday Night Live moment, because it was so unexpected. Like, we didn't pay for it. We didn't plan it. You just can't make it. You couldn't make it up, like to get that to happen, to have like Saturday Night Live Weekend Update to like promote, do a 3-minute PSA on Tushy.
That one's a crazy one.
It was crazy. It's crazy. But I would say like BuckCon and Yoda, and like doing our funeral for a tree. We did the most insane, we held a funeral in Judson Memorial Church with like 400 people, sold out, like church. And we literally held a literal funeral for a tree to show like millions of trees getting flushed down the toilet. And we had like, Matthew Morrison, who's from Glee, be the Reverend. And we had like all these epic comedians, and we had a 25-person chorus and choir, and it was insane. And it was just like, we again got a ton of press for that as well. And it was one of the most like beautiful marketing experiences, but it wasn't marketing. It was soul art piece that was just like truly magical.
I love that. That sounds so awesome. Gosh. Okay. 1 minute. Question number 3, go-to business resource.
My trusted friends.
Love that. Power of the network. Question number 4, how do you win the day? What are your rituals that keep you happy and successful?
I'm very particular about massage and body work. And so and I know most, people don't prioritize that. Even 7 years ago, when I wasn't, still my company, I was still in the startup, saving all the things, I still got 2 hours of massage every single week. 90 minutes of acupuncture every single week, and prioritize that. Like, bought less clothes. I don't have any handbags. Prioritized my body and my health, eating the right food, having enough sleep, meditation, breath work, body work. I see a coach every single week, 2 hours a week, to kind of like really work through my own, like, business and life coach. And you can work out deals with coaches where in the beginning, if you don't have any money, which I didn't, I worked out like, I'll give you a little piece of equity in my company if you're my coach once a week. So I did that, and lucky me, changed my life. Like, I probably wouldn't have been able to sell my company if it wasn't for that work, so it was deeply mutually beneficial. And it was the best money ever given ever. And then spend quality time with my dearest and closest friends who fill me up, and family who really, really, really fill up my tank. It's such a community is everything. And if there's one piece of advice I would give any entrepreneur, anybody starting their lives in this journey, is to double down on your community and your friendships. Because most people are like, sorry, I'm too busy, I'm starting my company, I can't come to your thing, I'm starting a company, I can't do this because I'm starting my company. That is a fast track to alienation, actually you being depressed faster. And then the second thing is, like, by me saying, yes, I'm coming to your event, and I'll just work a little bit extra harder on different parts of the days, and I've just cut out all like any kind of the fluff, and just show up for my friends, go to their things, come to the, and build my community. Because when there's going to be tough times, because there will be tough times, they will show up for you too. And you're not doing it for that, but the community rallying with you, alongside you, championing you, and you championing them, that is a tank fuel fill up for everyone. Like, we know that we are relational beings. Humans are relational beings. We cannot do things on our own. We can't say, can't talk to you about my idea, don't want to tell you anything. Like, I share my idea with everyone. Like, I'm never keeping secrets about what I'm doing, because they're going to come in. Great. You want to come and compete with me? I love competition. Bring it on, But like, your friends are there to, my friends, every time I'm like, I'm doing this, like, ooh, what about this? And what about that? They actually give me better ideas for my company versus like trying to hide it and keep it. Yeah. Like, so many people are like so cagey about their ideas and so cagey about this and whatever. It's like more is more, and more community, more love. The more love you give, the more you will receive. And that giving, receiving of love is integral in entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. And I love that you say that, because actually so many people say, like, go underground for 6 months and like ignore everything. And like you've kind of got that contrarian view of like, no, like definitely don't do that. Question number 5, what has been your worst money mistake and how much did it cost you?
Hiring, the cheapest like people, or the cheapest things, or the cheapest equipment, or the cheapest blah, blah, blah. Like anything that's like the cheapest. And I hate saying cheapest to people, but like the least experienced, I'm talking about cheapest, like equipment, a lot, or things that you're like cutting corners to try and save a buck actually costs me 10 times more long term. And so I would say quality over the savings. And like, even if you have to like figure out how to like do a payment plan for the quality thing, or like, offer a little bit of equity to someone who's way more experienced, but like not just someone out of college has no experience, but then they require even more time, more energy, and they're not experienced. They don't necessarily add as much value, whatever. So like, and then ends up being more work for you. So it's like, how do you incentivize someone with more experience with a little equity? Like, you find a way, but like, don't cut corners if you can not do that, because it does in the end make you do triple the work anyways. And so might as well do it right the first time, because otherwise it's going to cost.
It's going to come back to bite you in the butt. Last question number 6. You've already shared so many, but what is just a crazy story, good or bad, from your journey in entrepreneurship?
So many amazing. And I've had some real doozies, I would say. The doozies are just like beautiful learning lessons. Like what I've experienced from the really painful ones, that I felt like deep betrayal and deep anger and deep, now looking back, there are moments of, like I see these people as angels in my life who have come to like show me like, oh, this is what betrayal looks like and feels like. This is what depths of anger and frustration feels like. And so now I can actually relate to other people in those moments in such a deeper way. I can relate to people. I can meet people where they are in a much more pure, in a true, authentic way. And so I feel like I've experienced the highs, the lows, and I wouldn't change anything because of the deep learnings that happened from those experiences.
Miki, this has been such joy. I am such a fan. You are such a badass founder. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm so grateful. I'm going to be cheering for you and for Tushy.
No worries. Wait, Daddy, come here. Just 1 second. This is my dad.
Oh, come on in here.
This is my
Hi.
daddy. Hello.
Hi from London.
He has actually an amazing book out.
Plug it.
It's called Not for Sale. And
Not for Sale.
it's like a 300-page novel, truly about climate change. Amazing, just amazing, like page-turning book about climate change, not for sale. And there's a new book coming out called Reversal, which I'm so excited about.
We're going to link it in the show notes. Shout out to you.
I love.
I didn't come here to plug.
I
came here to remind.
I love plugging my dad. It's my favorite thing.
We're grateful to have you on the show here.
This is
My pleasure, and whoever is listening, hi to everybody.
It was a pleasure to meet you. It was a pleasure to have you here. Not for sale. We're going to link it in the show notes. Everyone run and buy it ASAP. Thank you so much.
Bye now.
Thanks, Miki. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.